Hey there, friends. So today we are going to try, or I'm going to try, out the 2 ingredient biscuits. I have not made them before, and I figured it would be fun to take you with me. And if it doesn't work out, well, that's how life goes sometimes. And if it does, and they're great, then you'll know. And you won't have to try it for yourself until after you watch me make the mistakes, or they turn out great and then it makes you want to try them. I'm sure they're all over the place, but I just figured it would be fun to take you guys along and show you some, things that I come in contact with and then just want to try and see how it goes. So I chose to make these tonight because the dinner plans I had didn't go very well because I ran out of time because I was in the garden. So instead, I was like, what can I make that's quick and easy with the supplies I have on hand? And so that's what we're doing. So I'm just following a recipe from online. I don't know if you're supposed to have permission to show these recipes or not, but this recipe is floating around a lot of places. But the particular one that I am looking at right now is from Plain Kitchen. So this is the way, I read the ingredients from her site, and the temperature of the oven needs to be set at 500 degrees. And if you scroll down through the rest of her site, it does confirm that 500 degrees is the accurate temperature. So, and that's 500 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm in the US, so that's the measurements we're going to use. And I'm going to use a cup, and we're going to use heavy cream. And I like to buy the organic heavy cream, or make sure when you read the ingredients list that it doesn't have anything else besides the least amount of ingredients. And there's like something 80, it starts with a P. I cannot remember the name of it. Sorry. My husband told me about it, and it is not a good ingredient. So I always make sure that it's just the organic cream, and most of them are going to have the gum in it, so that's fine. But I make sure it doesn't have the one that has the 80. So we use this one, and I think Daisy has one that's good too. So, and then I'm just using regular flour because I can only afford so many organic things, and I try not to get the bleached one, but we had this left over from something else, and it's the self-rising flour, which is what this ingredient calls for. So, you got to pick your battles and do the best you can. So when it comes to flour, I buy what I can afford, and I can't, I can't justify the organic prices on the flour. So I buy the store brand flour. I get plenty of it, and I can feed my family on a budget, but it's still better than the preservatives and the bioengineered ingredients I can get from pre-made things. So I'm just gonna, pray for protection over the food I do buy and hope that works out. All right, so it says that we need 2 cups of flour, and I think I just barely have enough of this flour. And let's see if I can do this where it still looks nice and I don't completely fog up the camera with a bunch of flour dust. But if I do, maybe that'll be a little entertaining. So we're just gonna put this flour in there. There's not much left. That is close enough to 2 cups. I actually measured it before to make sure I at least had the 2 cups. And then it says that we need 1.5 cups of heavy cream. And let's see, you're supposed to line a cookie sheet with parchment paper, which I've already done. And then we're going to place the flour, okay, and then we're going to add just enough. We're going to stir in the cream and add just enough to make it moisten the flour to a sticky dough. So it says we may have a little leftover. So we're going to start out with the cup, and we'll just stir and pour it in a little at a time. Maybe we'll just do, I'm sure if she said 1.5 cups, we'll at least do a cup. I think that should work. So, and that's the whole reason I bought the heavy cream, is because I wanted to try this recipe, because we don't too much buy heavy cream. So there's the whole cup. 1.5 cups is what it calls for. So there's 1 cup, and we're going to stir that in and see if this goes well. So usually I make drop biscuits, and my boys don't like them that much. My husband and I are okay with them, but the Cheddar Bay biscuits are the ones that everyone likes the most. So I figured if I tried these dough biscuits, maybe the majority of us would like those better. But it's just, I thought it would be something quick and easy for dinner tonight, since we were going to make pizza, and that is going to take 4 hours. So not making pizza. That'll be for another video at another time to show you how we manage pizza night. And it's really good. We don't buy pizza out anymore because my kids have become a little bit snobby to pizza, because now that we can make it at home and it tastes so much better and fresh than getting it out, they prefer it that way. So we have Monday nights are always our pizza nights. But not tonight. We had to change it, and that's just part of life, is being flexible and going with the flow and trying to see if you can manage things. And I didn't grab a towel, so I'll need to do that. Okay, so will that be, she said we might have a little left over. I might have to get in here with my hands, which is not my favorite thing to do. But we're going to have to roll it out anyways, so that just might be what I have to do. So maybe I had a touch more flour than I was supposed to, or maybe the humidity here is different. We are in the southern states, so it is much more humid here than a lot of places. I don't know about most places because I haven't been to most places, but here where I live, it is very humid a lot of the times. So here we go. So I did end up using all of that, and I'm trying my best to avoid getting my hands in there too soon. I want to make sure it's not too sticky, because that just makes a mess in my opinion, and I would prefer not to make a mess. It's no big deal, you can wash your hands, but I just don't like making a mess. So if I can avoid it. Now I'm supposed to use the flour, some of the self-rising flour, to, dust the counter, but I might have to use all-purpose because I just don't have enough. So use what you have and make do. That's the way it goes. So I'm going to move this stuff out of the way because I need this to be my surface where we're going to mash all this up. I mean, I don't think that's going to be enough, but we'll see. If I do need more flour, I'm going to go ahead and pull out my all-purpose flour and have it on the sidelines, ready to go, just in case I need it. And then we'll just keep mixing this up and see where we can go. So now I'm going to go ahead and get my hands in it. And it is quite sticky. Ooh. And I also don't have a biscuit cutter. So she says in the recipe that you can cut it in squares and all that if you want to. So I don't know what I'm going to do yet. We'll see what I decide to do. I may get a cup or something, or I may just cut it in squares, or I may just, well, I probably shouldn't roll it. I should probably cut it. But I may have a cookie cutter somewhere that I can find to cut it with. So it is quite sticky. I mean, it's not terrible, I guess. Hopefully I got enough flour in there. But it is a bit stickier than I would prefer. Maybe I should have held off a little bit on some of the cream. But it looked like I had a lot of flour down in there that was too dry, so I don't know. We're gonna find out. Usually, whenever I make other doughs, I always have the thought that if your bowl comes out clean and the dough wants to stick to itself more than then you've done the right thing. You've got the right moisture to flour ratio. But if it wants to stick like this, that is not the right ratio. So I'm going to have you guys watch this for a minute, and I'm going to grab I have a spoon right here. I'm just going to grab a spoon and dip into my flour, because I don't like to contaminate it. So I like to put a new utensil in there, and I don't like to place old flour back in my bag because I don't want any moisture. We already have enough humidity in Texas. I don't want anything else getting in there. So maybe adding more of this flour was not a great idea, but we'll see. I'm sure it'll work out fine. Sometimes you just use what you got and it'll work. Try not to be too stubborn about being exact and perfect, even though it has taken me years to outgrow that. So we're just gonna roll them up. Now, it did also say in the instructions that you could roll this out with a rolling pin, or you could just press it out with your hands. I am a rolling pin type of person, so I will probably use my rolling pin. I just don't want it to be too sticky, because so I might end up using too much flour. I don't know. That was one of the things that took me a long time to learn with making dough, is I'd always over flour it. So, but I finally got that down, and I'll give you guys a look at that, so I won't be quite as unknowing. My grandmother used to make biscuits all the time when I was a kid, and I guess I was just, you know, too young to really pay super close attention to, you know, what ingredients she used and exactly how she made them. But that was like a regular thing for us, is to make biscuits together. So, okay, we're going to get out the rolling pin, and hopefully we don't bump the camera in the process. So I'm just using a regular wooden, I don't know, it might be coated, I'm not sure. It's just a regular one that I bought somewhere. Don't even remember where I bought it. Kroger's, Walmart, Target, somewhere. I don't know. Okay. So we're just going to lay that out. And then we're just going to dust. Yep, see, there I go. Bumping the camera. Sorry. And we're just going to dust this really good with the flour. And then we're just going to roll it out. So the trick that I like to do when I'm rolling out dough is to make sure that there's enough flour on the counter so that I can rotate it and it doesn't stick to the counter. I just don't like that. Especially with pizza dough, it kind of puts a hole in the pizza dough. Now, she did say that we were supposed to do a 1/2 inch thick. So if you take your finger like this, that's usually about 1 inch. So, and mine actually measures 1 inch, so that's about a 1/2 inch. So we're going to go with that. And I think I'm actually just going to use this. This is probably too big, so I'm going to have really big biscuits, but I'm just going to use what I have, and what I have is this. So this may get in the way, and we'll just cut around it and see how it works. See how it goes. So we're just going to press that in there, see if we can cut a biscuit out, and there you go. It's a little biscuit. And I'm just going to place it on my cookie sheet. So yes, these are going to be monster size biscuits. So I'm not going to make the 12 that it says, but that's okay. My people will like big biscuits. They won't have a problem with bigger biscuits. And we're going to press this one out. And then we have that. So we'll see how many we get out of it when we're done. So we're going to press all these out of the dough, and then once we've got all of the ones we can get, we'll roll the dough back up, and then we will press some more. And I don't know, you know, maybe some people don't want to roll it and press it as much. Maybe some people want to fold it more to get more flaky. I don't know. I don't know what kind of biscuits these are going to be. I'm hopeful. See, when there's not enough flour on the counter, you get that sticky business. But I'm sure they'll cook up just fine. So, but I prefer my biscuits to be those flaky biscuits. If you're not doing drop biscuits, I like the flaky layers, but I don't know if these are going to be flaky layers. So, they may not be thick enough. I might have rolled them too thin. I have a habit of doing that sometimes. Just pressing the dough too much and rolling it too much. And that one's kind of sticking a little bit too. Okay, so I got 8 out of that. So maybe we will get 12. So we're just going to pull all this dough back together. And I'm going to dust the counter just a bit more. See if I have enough of this left over. Yeah, no. I'm going to need to reach in there and get a bit more. So apparently the heavy cream, if you know a little bit about cooking, if you don't, well then welcome, and hopefully I can help you and teach you and you can get inspired to learn a bit more. I want things to be fast and easy for you, but I am the least fast person ever, so you may just get ideas but not speed. So anyways, if you take heavy cream and you put it in your KitchenAid mixer and you whip it for a good while, like after the stage of like like you get whipped cream for icing, if you keep going past that, it'll start to get a little bit harder and harder. And that is the stage of butter. So if you mess up on your whipped cream and you keep going, you'll get butter. So don't throw it out. Just keep going and get your butter. I still buy just plain store brand butter because the whipped cream is so expensive that the already made butter is cheaper for me to buy. So if you do it that way, you will get you'll get the butter. So the idea behind these biscuits are you don't have to have butter. You just need the water and the flour. I mean, you just need the heavy cream and the flour, because the butter, the whipped cream is acting as the butter, and then the self-rising flour already has the ingredients to rise, so then it should make a simple, easy biscuit recipe. Now, a lot of people would say this is not very simple because we're making a mess, so that does take time in that regard, but for us, in some ways, we're trying not to do too many bad ingredients. Now, I'm assuming that this flour is probably potentially not a GMO. It's probably not a non-GMO product, but it is probably, the package doesn't say it's GMO'd, but it's probably still better than a can of biscuits or other box biscuits that I could buy and make. So I still feel like in the long run I am saving money with my time, so I'm taking the time to make these. And I don't know, I just feel like that's the better way to do it. And really, we've grown to really like to eat all the things we make from scratch. Even though it does take a bit more time, it does take a bit more effort and energy, but things just taste so much better. Our tummies don't feel too bad. Now, if you have a wheat or gluten sensitivity, this is probably not going to help you much. Or if you're just doing the low carb thing, this is not going to be your cup of tea or help you in those areas. But none of my children or my husband or I have any issues with gluten that we're aware of or feel. So we still eat gluten and don't have a problem with it. And it's just one of those things, like I have really picky eaters, and so flour just goes in everything, gluten is in everything, and flour's these kinds of things are some of the things I can actually get them to eat. So getting them to eat is, to me, the most important thing, because they gotta have some kind of food. Not eating is not the way to go at all, at least not in my opinion. So I also finally, after years, found a great bread recipe that works out really good for sandwich bread. So hopefully I'll get to share how I've tweaked the recipe and how I make it work for us, and that'll be a fun video also. And I have made it probably 4, 5, 6 times, and I've tried to make bread recipes for over 10 years and I never could get it right, you know, for sandwich bread. And I finally came across this recipe and then tweaked it enough to my family's liking, and it works every time. I have not had a single time where it did not come out well. So I love it whenever I find recipes and it works out. So I know one of my tricks that I found with, you know, is the rise time. Rise time is very important. Rest time is very important. I think I'm just going to leave that one just like it is. So, and it'll be fine. So the total number of biscuits, we have 3, 6, 9, 12, 13, 14. So I ended up making 14 biscuits. So maybe I made mine smaller or thinner than they were supposed to be. But nonetheless, they're made. And we are going to put them in the oven for 10 to 12 minutes. So I usually lean on the right down the middle, so I'll probably just do 11 minutes. Sometimes our oven is a little different than others, but usually, especially like with brownies and things, we like them a little less done. So I always go for like the middle or lower end, and then you can always cook it to make it better. And so that's the way I go with that. So we are going to pop these in the oven and we are going to wait the time, and then I'll come back and show you what they look like. So the oven is on 500 and the rack is supposed to be in the middle or towards the top notch. Not like the way top. I don't want to burn them, so I just left mine in the middle. But she recommends the middle or the upper rack level. So that's where I'm going to put these, and I'm going to have to get either smush them all together or get another tray for these. So we will return shortly, and hopefully all this area will be magically cleaned and you'll have some beautiful biscuits to see. All right, catch you back in a minute. Okay guys, we are back, and here are the biscuits right out of the oven. My husband nearly burnt his face trying to open the oven because the oven was so hot and he wasn't expecting it to be that warm. Now, this is the funny biscuit that I didn't completely press out. I just left it where it was just hand mushed. So if you hand roll them, you're going to get them like this. Oh my goodness, they're so hot right now. And then if you just do the other way, they're going to look like this, where they just have that. So I probably could have rolled them less thinly, and then they could have been thicker biscuits, because right now they look a little bit on the thin side. So they're not very thick. Oh, they are very hot. So I'm going to see if I can get a knife and cut them open. And we will see how they look on the inside. I guess I could break them too. So here is an opened one, hot. You can see all the nice steam, or at least I can. They look nice and fluffy. They would be better if I probably would have made them thicker. So looks like they're good. This is nice and toasty. Now, my parchment paper got almost got a little burnt. So, I don't know if it's just not the right temperature for that oven, but you might want to check that and be careful. Make sure you don't leave them in there too long and your paper will get burnt and start a fire and whatnot. So I did 500 and I did it for 10 minutes. I didn't do the 11 minutes like I thought I would. So if I would have done it any longer, they would have been burnt. So let's get some butter. So you could do butter, or you can do jelly. You can do whichever you like. And we'll give them a little buttery taste. That's probably a lot of butter there. Now, if you didn't have butter, you could just eat them without, but let's take a bite and see. I can't see my face, I'm sorry. They're pretty good. They definitely taste like biscuits. They're a little bit like a doughier biscuit, not like a flaky biscuit, but they're really good. They have a similar texture to the drop biscuits, but a little bit heavier. They're not quite as like fluffy. They're a little bit more dense. but not bad. Not in a bad way. Definitely, they definitely could hold up to like making an egg sandwich or like putting a sausage patty inside there and making like a breakfast sandwich. They definitely are a little bit better for that. So let's try to break one open. I'll just set that to the side. So like if we just break them, just so you can see, they look like kind of fluffy, but that bottom is kind of, you know, if you wanted them to go a little less, you might could try 9 minutes, or I could try 9 minutes in my oven. But there they are. So that's one of the things we're having for dinner tonight. And then I'm just going to scramble up some eggs to go with it. And my husband made some bacon. So we will have bacon, eggs, and biscuits for dinner. So I hope you guys try these out and enjoy them and see how you like them. Okay guys, the consensus with the family is my youngest, pickiest eater says that they are really good. And he really likes the biscuits.
Good with honey.
My husband says they're good with honey. I just finished eating my whole butter one. I thought it was really good. I would definitely make them again. And I would
strawberry jelly on this next one.
definitely eat them. My husband's going to do strawberry jelly next. But I think after I make the eggs, I'm going to try them in like a breakfast sandwich combo and see how they turn out that way. My husband was talking about, since I made them so thin, about putting 2 of them together and making a sandwich out of them that way. So there you have it. All right, they are liked by everyone except for the other son hasn't tried them yet. So I'm sure he'll like them too. He likes most doughy things. Okay, so guys, here is how these biscuits turned out with a scrambled egg bacon sandwich. So I think it turned out really good. They seem hearty enough to hold the sandwich. So if you wanted to do like, if you had those pans that you could just do a fried egg in and you had a whole fried egg or those different kinds of things, you could lay a biscuit, you could lay the egg on there in the shape of the biscuit and have your bacon and then pre-wrap them and make them ahead of time and then have a quick, easy breakfast. So I think they worked out great. I think they taste really good. I actually like them better than the drop biscuits. So I will probably be making these from now on. One of my youngest son, who's the pickiest kid, came back, tried to steal the rest of them. I had to stop him. And then my other kid is like, they're good, but not, you know, he likes the baked bread better. But at the same time, he still came back for more biscuits. So I say they're a win. So I hope you guys try it out and let me know what you think in the comments. All right, thanks, guys. Bye.